Alright, so I just wanted to make a quick video about the method of leaf cutting propagation that I like to do. I've let my Venus flytrap flower before, but I've never actually got any seeds out of it. I usually do propagating through leaf cutting or a leaf pulling with part of the rhizome. In fact, I clone these actually four plants here using either leaf cutting or leaf pulling, and then flower stalk cutting. So this guy's getting a little long, and it's getting to the end of July, so really I didn't want it flowering right now. And it looks like it's growing 2 flowers in there, so that second one I might just cut off once it gets a little bit taller. But I'll be cutting off this big leaf here, or flower, and then I'll be propagating it. Hopefully it'll take about 4 months or so, but I've had some success doing it. So also I'll be cutting off the flower stalks on here too. There's about 3 of them, and I'll be trying to do the same thing with the flower stem propagation with these ones as well. This fly trap, or these fly traps, I actually bought from a grocery store, and they're doing really well. They're a little bit darker than I sort of want them to be, but I just bought a new light as well. It's about 400 watts, so it's significantly stronger than the one I had before. So, but all in all, the plant's still doing really well, significantly better than it was when I first bought them from that grocery store. But yeah, I'll be cutting off these flower stalks and then trying to propagate them, and I'll show you how I do that. So bear with me, and I'll cut these off, and then we'll get going on it. Alright, so before we get started, I wanted to go over a couple of items that you're going to need to do this. First one's obvious, you're going to need your plants, so you can cut off the flower stems. Secondly, you're going to need something to cut the flower stems with. Something pretty sharp, because you got to get pretty far down in there to cut the flower stem off at the base of the leaf. Ziploc bags. I might need more than 2, but I'm going to try and do it with just 2. Some soil. I use a peat moss perlite mix. I like the 40-60 mix. It's a little bit finer, so not too many big chunks in there, so I like to go with that one. Then these little plastic containers, like yogurt containers or cream cheese containers. I think I'll only need like 2 or 3, but I bought 4 just to make sure I'm on the safe side. And then some distilled water. I typically will use distilled water, but if you have reverse osmosis water or rainwater, that should be just fine as well. So we'll put this camera on a tripod and then get started. Alright, so I'm going to start with this plant here. This was a Venus flytrap that I rescued from a grocery store. So and that was this year, so I don't really want it flowering. I want to focus more on growing. I'm not really sure if I'm going to do a winter dormancy on it. I probably will, but maybe not as long. I've never done that before, so I'm not really sure what the best method is for these plants that you rescue, at least for the first year of having them. But regardless, I want the plant to focus on growing versus propagating, so I'll be cutting off I believe it's 3 flower stems on here. One obvious big one here, another one just right here, and then a small one just here on the end. So I'll be removing these 3 and then trying to propagate them through flower stem cutting. So for this, you want to just try and get down to the base of the plant without cutting anything else on it. So this one's pretty easy to do since all the other leaves around it sort of are out of the way, but just cut it down there and then set it aside. Then we'll go with this next big one here. So we'll try and move it to the side without activating a trap, but if I do, that's fine too. Okay. So we got it. Then, like I said, we'll just set it aside. And then there's that tiny one. I contemplated letting this one grow a little bit more, but I figured why not since I'm removing some of the other ones. But this one's going to be very tiny, so I'm not even sure if I'll cut this one into pieces or just leave this one just as one piece. Get down in there, try not to cut anything else. Okay. Clean cut, and we'll put this with the other ones. Alright, on to the next plant. Alright, this one should be fairly easy because it's just right there in the middle. But there's a small leaf growing, small trap growing just inside there, so I'm going to try not to cut that one. Also, I'm probably going to have to let this other flower stem start to shoot out a little bit more before I cut that one. Since it's really tiny in there, and I don't want to damage anything, so let's get this flower stalk off. And this one's a little thicker, so hopefully that means it'll get a good strike on it. So yeah, there goes that one. So we'll set the plant to the side. The first part, since my table's so dirty, I'll just use another container here. So basically I want to cut these into about 1-inch pieces. So just roughly guessing, I'm not going to use a ruler or anything, I'm just going to sort of eyeball it. Something like this I maybe want to cut into like 4 pieces. So maybe just about right here. And again, we're just setting it aside for right now. And I try and cut these at an angle. I heard there's a better success rate if you do cut them in an angle. I'm not really sure if that's the case or not, but that's just what I've heard, so that's how I've always done it. And like I said, I've gotten pretty good success doing it that way. And this one I'm actually going to cut a little shorter because I want this flower stem to possibly get a propagation, I'll set that one straight up and down versus these other ones I'll set horizontally. But the tips with the flower portion on it, I like to stand straight up inside of the container and try and propagate it that way. So I'm not sure which way is better, if you set it vertically versus laying it down, but that's just the way I do it. I set these straight up and down. And I've gotten pretty good success from doing that, so we'll set this aside and cut the other ones. I'm actually going to just leave this one as is. Typically I would like to do it when the flower stem is more like this, and not starting to bloom as much. The other one I just showed, if I can grab it, is ready to pretty much bloom, so I'm not sure if it's too late or not. We'll just try it out and see if it works. But yeah, typically I like to get them at around this time, to where the flower's not really formed too much. Alright, so next we're going to pour some soil into our container. And again, I really like this 40-60 mix. The perlite chunks seem to be a lot finer, so they're a lot smaller. I don't have any extra pure peat moss to just put on top to allow the plant to root better. So having the smaller chunks of perlite help out a lot. So basically you just pour some in there and then we'll get it really wet. Typically I like to have it a lot wetter than I would normally like my plants. And that's again just to help the cutting sort of root down into the soil. So get some water in here. This mixture likes to absorb a lot of water, so most of the time I don't get it right on the first time, but we'll see what it looks like. So let's see how many we can get in here, maybe 3 or 4, I'm assuming, and then we'll probably have to mix up the second container. Now when I'm doing this, I like to just set them down into it and then push them down a little bit, especially on the ends, so it can try and encourage it to start rooting. And I'll push it into the water a little bit, which is why we got a little bit wetter than you would normally have your plants. I'm actually going to move this one over to the side just a tad. Just right there. Get the next one in here. So like I said, I like to get the ends on both sides just down into the soil a little bit. Just try not to bury them too much in there, or too deep in there. So just like that. And then these ones here with the head of the flower, I'll put those ones straight up and down. So we'll just stick it right in the soil. And try and get to stand straight up. If you can. There it goes. I've heard that having extra peat moss to just have at the top would help out with just keeping it straight up and down in there and helping it balance. But I've always used the peat moss perlite mixture. But yeah, we'll set it straight up and down just like that. And then set this one aside for now. So we'll repeat that process again. I'm putting more soil and then putting the rest of these cuttings inside. Alright, so we'll set this aside as well. Another important item I forgot to mention when I was talking about the stuff you might need is a marker. Basically, I'll write the date on here so I know basically the progress of the plant. I can track it because this will take about 3 to 4 months to start showing some growth on it. And obviously these plants will not go through a dormancy this year. I like to skip a cycle, so basically for tracking purposes, I'll write the date on here. So once these plants start growing and then I go to change them into or repot them into a bigger pot, I'll try and retain the same deep with the tag. So that way I can just like track the plant. But typically it's more important just for that first year so you can know which plants you're gonna put through dormancy or not. I believe these ones will be way too small. That's just the way I've always done it. It's just skip a dormancy period once they start showing some signs of growth. And just allow them to grow that first full year at least. Not sure if it's more beneficial to go 2 years or 3 or how you guys do it, but yeah, I'll go at least that first year. So next we'll get the plants or the containers inside of Ziploc bag. Just push it in there, and then for now we're just going to seal it up all the way. This will increase the humidity to about 100%, and really help these guys start rooting into the soil. Just gonna knock this one over a little bit, so I want to try and get it straight up and down. Again, I'm not sure which method is better, to just lay them down or have them straight up and down. I've sort of had pretty good results with both. But if you guys had some success with either way, let me know in the comments. Okay, just like that. Seal it up. And then we'll put these guys back into my grow tent. Alright, so here we are back in my grow tent. I basically put them at a lower shelf here, just underneath these, I believe they're 10 watt, no, maybe 30 watt grow lights, so it's getting about 90 watts of power of light. I wanted to use my top shelf, but I believe this light that I have is a little bit too strong. Sitting at 400 watts, so I believe that's way too strong. I was using an app that I found that was recommended by somebody else, that tests the, I believe it's the PPRM of your light, and it's just a phone app, so maybe it's not completely accurate, but I believe the app is called Photolux. Let's see, yeah, no, Phototone is what it's called, and it's the PPFD actually, and doing some research, they said that you probably want it at around 250 or something like that, and you probably can't see that, but just where the plants are at, or the cuttings, sitting around 270, 280. So it said anywhere from like 200 to 210. Or I'm sorry, 200 to 400, but 250 was around optimal for leaf cutting, and I'm not really sure if that's accurate or not. I just did a Google search on it, so you know, maybe not the best source to look this up, but I've had some success doing it this way with these little shop grow lights, but eventually I will, once it starts growing and I start seeing some growth on it, I'll move it up here, probably more or less when I start taking them out of the bag and repotting them, and then work on acclimating them to the growing conditions in here, and then maybe outside as well. But yeah, that's the method I use to do the flower stem propagating. If you have any tips or tricks on how you like to do it, let me know. Link a video or just comment. You know, I'm not the best grower out there. I can certainly learn a couple of things or two, because I had these guys growing outside and then they started doing really bad out there, so I brought them back inside in a panic. So normally I would like to grow them outside, but like I said, they were looking a lot better inside, so decided to move them back in. But I'm not the best at growing carnivorous plants. You know, I sort of wanted to make this channel to sort of as a vlog to how I like to take care of these plants and, you know, my journey with these amazing plants. So if you got any tips or tricks, feel free to let me know in the comments. Other than that, I will try and make an update once these guys start growing a little bit more, or if this is a complete failure. I will try and update you guys on that. You know, even having one additional plant I would really love. So we'll see how many successes I get on this, but feel free to like the video, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.